Okay, good. So we're going to learn about some listings, how to get some listings. Is everybody working on listings?
Hey, Sean, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Of course.
I absolutely love that Balda mentions he has a property coming up in Northfield and Ray reaches out looking for details before it even hits the market.
That's good stuff.
Sounds
That's
good.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Baldo. And hopefully he'll sell it. We've been talking. Leadership's been talking. We got to figure out a way. We want to represent the seller as best possible, but a way to try to get the information about listings our agents have before putting on the MLS. I mean, if we have a buyer in the first 72 hours of having a listing, and your seller gets top dollar, that's really the best thing for everybody right now, because it seems like we put listings on the market and then our own agents are fighting to put bids in. And we do a lot of in-house deals, but then they're fighting to do it on the market. So if you can shoot it out to a couple of people, we just put 3 under contract, I think, without putting them on the market from my team within the office. Maybe we got 2 package deal we're working on. I think it's going to go through them.
If you section in command, you can do that too.
Yeah, I figured there was a way if you could maybe show some feel one time, or there's too many leads. We take 100 plus listings a month, so it's kind of hard to do text messages every day. We get inundated, but just put it out to people you know. I mean, if you get the word out, you'll be surprised. And if you have it coming up, if they say we're going to list it in a week from now, put the word out to people in the office. I'm telling you, the best thing you can do is tell your seller when you go get it signed, or right before you list it, that, hey, I got a buyer already. Because now they know you really were working, because you didn't even put it on the market. You didn't do the internet marketing, nothing.
Stephanie says that we can post up and coming.
If we made a Facebook group and invited all the Keller Williams Atlantic Shore agents, we could just have a Facebook group. We could have a Facebook group dedicated to upcoming listings. So that
I like that idea. I
Do
like
that
that
on the
idea.
internal one that we already
And-
have. That way everyone's already on there and we monitor who's in and who's out on that one.
Yeah,
there
that
you
sounds
go.
good.
I mean, whichever. That's fine. Stephanie, was that your idea? Because you just said something.
Yeah, I said post it on the up and coming internal Facebook group. The internal one, we monitor who's coming in and who's coming out. That way we're not doing a whole lot of groups at the same time.
Great minds think alike.
The only thing with that is if anybody shares it by accident, then it can
You
create.
can't share from a private group.
I mean, in KW Command, we have our Connect screen. That's only our office, Atlanta County.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Our KWAS family, is that only realtors in our office, not friends and?
Correct. You have to be a
Only
licensed
our
realtor
agents,
with
right?
our office. As soon as someone leaves our office, then they get removed from the group. And as soon as someone joins our office, they get added to that group.
Because let me clarify and be very clear. You cannot market if you have a listing signed, you cannot market it on Facebook, you're not even supposed to, or social media. You're not supposed to put a sign out in front of it unless it's going in the MLS. Once you start marketing it, it has to go in the MLS. I think 24 hours, or you get like a $500 fine. They match it to the office. What I'm saying is, if you know you have a listing coming up in 3 days, or if you know you're getting it signed today, or within the first 48 hours of having it signed, put the word out. You might get a buyer in-house. We represent the most buyers by almost 3 times. So statistically, somebody in our office has a buyer for your listing. I don't want to get off too much of a tangent on that, but does everybody understand that, if you don't have listings, you used to say you're out of business. If you don't have listings to market, you have no business to market. Of course, you can market yourself, but listings are the key. With listings, leads, listings, leverage, right? And we're all struggling in the same thing, getting more listings. I'm at my lowest point, I think, in probably 10 years. I don't even know. So it's a challenge. However, it's not science. You can do this. You can get listings the same way. You just got to do more of it. Anybody have any other sources, please chime in. I'm not gonna say this is the only stuff. This is the stuff that me and Tom just do together real quick this morning. And we got off KW.com. But tell me, does everybody have a database? Everybody raise their hand. Does everybody have a database that they use and work, even if it's not command?
Yep.
How do I have, is there a way to put everybody's faces up?
They put their own face up. You can't do it.
I can't do it because I'm technically inclined. All right, cool.
That's me.
Yeah. Your sphere, your friends, your family, your past coworkers, people you've met throughout the years at the bar, at family parties, at whatever. Does everybody have a 36 touch or a 33 touch or some sort of touch? Market updates, anything? Hey. Yeah. No, then I right. That's what she said. You can't share the screen. So I got 6 people, but 6 is better than 3. I want to see everybody's beautiful faces. Thank you though. So does everybody have some sort of touch campaign and have all their people on some sort of repeat call?
No.
Let me ask this: do you think you should call somebody tells you I'm not looking to buy or sell in the next 5 years? How many times a year should you call them?
MREA says 4 times a year.
I love that answer. Right? It's crazy actually. We have a book that actually tells us that, right? And I'm not saying none of you have read it. I'm just saying a lot of times we try to reinvent the wheel. Exactly right. 4 times a year. Why would you call somebody 4 times a year that is not looking to buy or sell?
Be on top of mind.
And would you ask for referrals?
Yeah, referrals. So the coach that I have, he says to make those calls organic, because there's a lot of people in my database that, and Scott and I were talking on this, not even a week ago, about how I don't think that I can't comfortably call somebody 4 times a year and talk about business, because it feels inorganic and I've never done that before. But if you call one time about maybe, birthday, once that's strictly just about catching up, once about those referrals, and then, any other call that's strictly business, that's a very powerful tool. And it seems like you're keeping up with them and not being inorganic.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Some of you are probably thinking this is really silly stuff, Shawn. This is what we got on the call for, but this is not a complicated business. This is a silly, stupid business. It's exactly what Les said. There's different ways of putting it. There's different ways people have been talking to it. There's a Ford method. It's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. George Kelly had a technology class, I think a week ago. It was an amazing class. I didn't make it, but everybody raved about it. I've been in George's class. He's awesome. But one of the things he said was, you don't call people and just ask them for business every time you see them. No, or every time you talk to them. You ask them. He said he broke it into 3 questions. How are you? Let's say it's John. How are you, John? How is your family? How is work? And by those 3 questions, you will probably get to know if they're looking to buy, looking to sell, if family members having a baby, is somebody getting divorced, is somebody downsizing, upsizing, and you might not even have to ask for the business. However, if you call somebody, like Les said, if you call them for a birthday, how's the new job, how's the new house, of course, how's Johnny doing in soccer? After a while, they don't mind asking you asking them for business. In fact, if you build a relationship with them, you'll ask them. You said to somebody you've talked to 4 times in a year or even 2 times in a year, and they know you, and you said, hey, John, can you do me a favor? Usually their immediate response is what? Yes, sure, I'll do you a favor. Do you mind if I stay in touch with you in case you know anybody looking to buy or sell? Rarely is the answer no. Now, if you don't know them very well and you just cold called them, they might tell you no and don't call me anymore. But if you're building a relationship with a true sphere and database, they're not going to mind, trust me. It is the least resistance of referrals and business. It is the highest conversion of referrals and business. The box picked up or something just now. But if you read the MREA, it's 6 to 1. 6 met people in your database you follow up with 30 or 33 or 36 times a year now, including 4 phone calls, maybe even 6, depending on how much you want to call them. You'll get a 6 to 1 conversion. Every 6 met people in your database you stay in touch with, you'll get 1 deal per year. As you go up the list of sources, that number gets higher. Does anybody know real quick what the national average, national conversion average of expired contacts to a appointment? It's
20.
115.
1 in 15, yes. 1 in 15, I've heard 20 last year, but it's between 15 and 20. That means you have to contact 15 to 20 expireds to get one appointment. Now, if you're good and you have a 75, 80% conversion when you sit at somebody's table or on Zoom nowadays, then that's great. However, if you have a 50% conversion, you have to get 2 appointments to get 1 listing, right? So that means you have to make 30 to 40 contacts. The reason I say this, I'm not saying they're not a good source of leads. They are. However, if you can build a Spear database of Mets, it is the, I don't want to say the easiest. It is the path of least resistance and the smarter, not harder. I'd rather talk to 6 people, get 1 lead, 1 referral, than talk to 15 or 20 or 40 and get 1 lead. However, we're going to go through them all. Referrals, obviously, I'm going to go into that. You have your Spear, and then your Spear refers people. One of the things I like about referrals is, I don't know if somebody's on here worked. Is anybody on the call that's worked internet leads at a high level? Ray, have you?
That's all I did for about 2 years was internet leads.
Yeah.
I would say I'd call thousands of internet leads in my day, but I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. And have you closed a lot of them with sales too, I imagine?
Yeah, probably about when I first started, I was probably about a 1% conversion rate until
Right.
I really understood how to sell and how to talk to people. And I'm probably up to about 5 to 10% conversion rate.
That's phenomenal. And that's a whole other conversation. The conversion rate on internet leads is low. I think the national average is like 4 or 3, and you have to be good to do that. So 5 to 10 is fantastic. But now, do you work referrals and Spear some now?
Yeah, my first year or two, I was like 95% internet leads. Now I'm roughly about 50-50, 50% referrals, and then 50% internet and various other sources.
And I'm asking this live, and you can tell me the truth, because I'm going to tell you what I find. But if you do 50-50, if you had the choice to work 100% of either one, which one would you work with? Spear or referrals or internet leads?
So just timing alone, last year I did about 50% internet leads, 50% business, 50% referral. I spent about 75% of my time to 80% of my time to get those internet leads closed, and about 20% of my time to get the referrals closed. So
Why?
I spent a fifth of the time closing referrals, because if I talk to a referral, like, I'm not as good as following up every quarter. But if I've talked to people sometimes 3, 6, 9 months ago, a year ago, I had 1 or 2, 3 conversations with them, just said, hey, I'm in the real estate business, and just had a basic conversation. Then all of a sudden I'll get a Facebook message 6, 12 months later. Hey, I'm ready to buy a house. Let's do this.
That's the referral you're talking about.
On the referral end, yeah.
And I found, talking to people and my own experience, is that referral leads are easier to close, and they tend to be, I'll be honest, less drama. Not, listen, this is the second most stressful thing people do in their lives is buying a house. First is getting married, as they say. But so there's always a little bit of stress. However, I always thought they're a little more loyal, and they're a little more easier to work with because they were being referred by somebody you know. And the last thing they want you to do is say, the guy you referred me was a real J.O., you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of connection there. With the internet lead, they don't know you from Adam. They don't know anybody else unless you happen to know somebody else. So it's kind of like, if you don't know anybody in real estate to refer you to somebody, there's probably a reason for that.
So do you find
my point? It's a lot less time, like Ray said, and they tend to be a little more loyal and a little more easier to work with. Yeah, Les.
So do you find them to be more qualified as leads as well? Like more likely to be able to get financing because they, in my experience, at least with people that have been referred to me so far, they are actively looking, but they don't know what, they have the realtor to work with, but they've maybe already started the process or are very serious.
As far as qualifying, I don't know. I never really kind of looked at it. I mean, I always say if you had a room of 100 people and you asked who wants to buy a house, you'll get 100 hands. But if you ask who can get a mortgage to buy a house, it's statistically it's about 50%. So that's why the homeownership rates between 50 and 55% of the country owns homes, and the rest rent. It's just what it is. So I don't know. It's a good point. I'm not sure. anybody else has any history with that, or let me know, let us know. I definitely find them easier to work with. So referrals, ask for referrals. People are not going to get, especially Spear. And when you're under contract, I usually tell people, like, you should be asking for, you can ask for referrals 4 times or maybe more if you want, we're under contract. Usually when they get the contract, especially right now, if somebody wins a bid right now, it's like, they're celebrating because you got to put 3 bids in to get one. So they're happy, right? They're excited, they're happy, their endorphins are moving. So right when they get the contract and it's fully signed, you have attorney review, congratulations, that's awesome, you're gonna buy a house. Hey, do you know anybody else looking to buy or sell? Right after the home inspection is done being negotiated, and provided they're happy and they're not so mad about the home inspection or anything, when they get the clear to close, and right after closing, ask for the referrals. So that all goes into your database, and I kind of covered database in the beginning. You have to have a database. You have to work it. I shouldn't say you don't have to have a database. There's people. I remember I talked to Mark Arbate probably 8 years ago, maybe, and he said, "You guys in your database," you guys in your database. Back then, at least, I don't know if Alex is on. He could probably elaborate now. Back then, he didn't really focus on a referral business as much as he just hit expireds, FSBOs, circle calls. He had, I don't know if it was him or an ISA, but he was just pounding the phones, and that works. It does. And you make a choice of which one to go for. But to me, a database is working smarter, not harder. All right, who works expires to a high level or wants to? Nobody wants to go expired. Does anybody want to call expires? You want to know how to do them? They do work. Does anybody know where to get? Because if you're going to call expired, you have to contact 15 to 20 people. We've established that. Do you know how many people answer the phone when they don't know who's calling? Like 20-30% of people answer the phone. That means you got to dial the phone 100 times to get 20 people to answer. And that 20 people is your 20 to 1. So anybody, if you want to call expires at a high level, you need to get the data, and you can organically get some of it by looking the white pages, looking on the internet. There's apps and stuff, but it's going to take a lot of time. You have to get some sort of polling system, a dialer, and place to get the data. There's things like Mojo. If you want to write it down, Mojo is one system. That's you can get, all of them have kind of their good things, and none of them is actually good one. I think that has all the good things in it. But Mojo to me is good for, you can get expired list, you can get a FSBO list, you can get pre-foreclosure list, and you can get what's called the lead store, and that's a geographical mapping system where you can literally, let's say you want to do just sold calls, and you sold 123 Main Street in Pleasantville, and you want to call 100 people around it. You can literally draw a circle or a square on this geographical map, and it will suck in any numbers it can get. It usually gets a good amount of numbers, not a lot of cell phones. I'm going to say 20-30%, a lot of home phones, which surprisingly a lot of people still answer. But that's when, and that system can dial 3 numbers at a time. So you can literally dial 3 numbers at a time, which cuts the time of calling, the rate of calling, triples. If you understand that only a third or less answer the phone, so the other 2/3 are going to get voicemails. The system actually drops a voicemail into the voicemail of you that you pre-record. If by chance somebody answers the phone while you're on the phone, you can have a funny message. I don't know what mine says now. Billy uses it, my ISA, but it used to say, if they answered the phone and I wasn't there, I'd say, hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I got a bad connection. I'll call you back. And then as soon as he hangs up the line, it'll call that number right back. Again, Mojo I like because that's a triple dialer and it's a geographical mapping system. There's another one called Vulcan 7, and that one I think has the best it has the best expires with a good dialer. It has more cell phone numbers, not all, but more cell phone numbers, more expireds, and you can go back on expireds. I'll talk about old expires in a second, but it doesn't have a triple dialer, but I don't know why. And then there's also one RedX. RedX is now a dialer as well, but RedX, you can just buy the FSBO list, expired list, pre-foreclosure list. And I don't know, I'm not 100% sure if it does geographical area. I don't think so. Like I said, everyone has kind of something different. If they could squash them all together and have one, it'd be perfect.
It does have a geographical dialer.
It does? Okay, great. Do you use it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I have RedX, but we only use it as a dialer, but we only use it for expires. And I don't know, but I found out of the three of them, RedX gets the most, or it gets the old, goes back the farthest on expires. I think we can go back 18 months or 2 years on expired listings, and it does get the most phone numbers for those as well. That's the only reason we got it, and we dumped the information into, I think, Mojo, so we can triple dial it. Anything good or not good about RedX, Les?
The numbers, the good numbers are, I think, kind of low. Like I've heard good things about Vulcan, where for the dialers, it's hit or miss. But the geo leads, I really like the geo lead program because you can plug in the address that you're looking for, and then it will go. You can delineate who you want to reach out to. Like if every 100 closest that maybe bought their house in the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. So it allows you to target individuals in that area, not just by how close they are proximity, but how close they are proximity and when's the last time they bought their house.
You can actually search by that?
Yeah.
So it's probably checking the tax records. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It's in the geo leads. Yeah.
When you say geo leads, you mean is that geographical?
Yeah. So it's geo leads. That's what they call it in their program.
You can do like a map, like I said, like a mapping system.
Yeah.
And then with that, you can say, I want to only numbers that have owned their house longer than 10 years.
Yeah, or 7 years. Yeah, I don't think it goes back as far as 10, but it goes back at least 7 years.
That's pretty cool. That's actually good to know. Since statistically, how often do people sell their house?
Exactly, every 5 to 7 years.
Exactly. So that's perfect. That's a good tool.
Wait, Les, did you use the other ones first and then moved over to RedX, or have you always done RedX?
No, so I looked into Vulcan after I got RedX, and just the cost to switch over didn't seem to make sense for me. I found out about RedX because of Noel. Actually, he had said that this was a program that he would recommend, and I found it to be pretty valuable. So I've kept going, but it's relatively cheap. I don't know what Vulcan costs, but I think RedX has the option to be the cheapest if you don't want to pay for all the bells and whistles. If you just want expireds, or you just want, it allows you to do a la carte really efficiently.
You might ask what does it cost you for what you get?
So I pay for the geo leads, and that's and I pay for the dialer, because only thing I use RedX for currently is to circle prospect, and for like open houses and for like just listed, that kind of thing. And I'm working with an investor down here in the Villas, so I've been reaching out like, hey, listen, are you trying to sell your house? So I'm not using it for expireds or geo or expireds or FSBOs, which they do offer. But you can add those on. But I spend I would say about $400, $350 every quarter. And that's with the dialer.
Like $100 or $125 a month, something like that.
Ballpark, yeah. The dialer is what
yeah.
it costs. It makes it cost a lot more, but yeah, the geo leads by themselves are pretty cheap. The dialer is what it costs the bulk of it.
Yeah, Mojo and Vulcan are a little bit more. They're both, I think, they're under $200 a month. And that, I mean, on Mojo and Vulcan, we have FSBOs expireds, and Mojo we have the geographical. You can do circle calls. RedX. I'm sorry, Vulcan 7, we don't have the geographical. I don't think so. It's just the dialer, the triple dialer in Mojo. FSBOs expires, and I think it's $175 a month, something like that. And then Vulcan 7 is about the same, but it doesn't offer triple. It's a single dialer, and we have, I think, FSBOs expires. We have to drop them because you can go a la carte, but we mainly use that for the expireds. Yeah, cool. Anybody else have any experiences they want to say, input about those things, about getting expired numbers, hitting expires? Because they are still a good source, and right now, the way listings are, the inventory is, I would hit all of them. If you have time, Gary Keller said, listen, if you were making, in all honesty, if you're honest with yourself, if you were making an hour a day or an hour a week of calls before, then you need to make 3 hours of calls a week or a day to get the same results. That's really the end of the story. It's not the same, nothing's changed. It's just the same, just doing more of it. But you can definitely use some tools and systems to help increase it. FSBOs. Anybody having any luck right now with FSBOs?
I
That's
had
where,
luck with getting a buyer from a FSBO.
Awesome. How'd you get that? How'd you get a buyer from FSBO?
Les and Kinkisha pushed me into calling one months ago, and he, no matter what I said, he refused to list his property. But in the same breath, he said, "But I'm looking for a buyer," and that was that $1 million buyer I got.
That's awesome.
So he was waiting. He just sold his condo. I talked to him yesterday, so now we're on the hunt for, what he wants to buy with his new money.
I think that's the one you were telling about, the $1 million buyer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How
So
did you call the FSBO? How did you get to the buyer again?
So I called the FSBO looking for just, calling for sale by owners trying to list their property. And he said, I don't use listing agents. I don't want to list my property, but I'm looking for a buyer agent because when I sell my property.
Oh, he's the buyer. I see. I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's the buyer. Yeah.
He's the buyer.
I didn't get the listing like I wanted, but that I was still pushing for, but he ended up getting it sold and now I'm, able to sell him a property.
Gotcha.
hey Shelley, how many calls did you make to get that lead?
Just one.
One call. One call. That's 100% conversion, Michelle. So you got a good conversion rate.
It's like 1 in a million, though. I'm aware of that.
No, it's not 1 in a million. It's one in. I think it's 1 in 25 right now. 2019 was 1 in 25. 1 in 25 contacts, but you did 1-to-1. Have you made any more FSBO calls?
I haven't. No. No, I haven't. It took me a lot to make that one, but I will eventually.
So eventually is today or tomorrow?
I don't know.
A
little busy.
But since you got the result, I would think you would call more. You get excited. Usually people they call 5, they get some sort of rejection, and that discourages them from calling more. But you gotta be okay with the rejection. However, you got 100% positive.
Yeah, no, you're right. I should definitely get on that, Shawn.
Do it. You can do it. Something we used to do when the market is when it's in the seller's market. Statistically, FSBOs sell more. They do. They're not a very high percentage, but they sell more when it's a buyer's market, obviously. So something, if somebody says they don't want to, they do not want to list. You can, something we've all said in the past is we'll say to the seller, okay, listen, if you don't want to list, I understand. You ask them about buying. Well, when you sell, where are you going? Do you need agents to find your house? Usually they'll say yes because they don't mind because they don't pay you, right? However, so now your goal is that you say, well, my goal now is to help you sell the house, even though I'm not listing it, so I can help you find a house to buy. Is that okay if I help you? And you say yes, right? And then you say, well, a lot of people come through the house and they're not pre-qualified. And you really don't know who they are. You might, if I help you out with some tools to, number one, keep you safe with people coming to your house. And 2, sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation, asking a buyer, you have a mortgage company, you have cash, can you give me the bank statement? Can you give me the mortgage pre-qual? If you'd like, I'd be happy to make those calls for you, either before or after they come to the house. And you'd be amazed how many people take the help because it's free. And in the end of the day, buyers and sellers really do not want to negotiate themselves. Most people, very high dominant people, they don't care. But 75% of people, they don't want to engage with each other on uncomfortable issues, like buyers trying to get the price down, sellers trying to get the price up, buyers wanting to get more repairs, them not, you have money, are you broke, can you get a mortgage? So most of the time they'll say yes. And you'd be amazed how many people they'll send to you if they are getting activity on their house. And I'm going to bet if they're even fairly priced right as a FSBO now, they are getting calls. So you call them today and say, hey, John, I know you said I want to help you out. Have you had any calls lately? And they'll say yes. Okay, if you want, I'll call them up and get them pre-qualified or make sure they are, get the proof of funds, blah, blah, blah. But it gets you the buyer's information. So, because if they have 10 buyers over the course of 30 days, 9 of them are going to buy something else, right? An idea. FSBOs, like I said, one in what I've heard, and if you can, if anybody's heard any other stats lately, I think it was 2019, it was 1 in 25 nationally, 1 in 25. And just some stats to throw is 78% is the amount of money. I'm sorry, no, 87% is the national sales price to list price of what FSBOs get. They tend to get nationally, again, not right now, probably, I don't know, now they're probably 100%, but normally on an average market, they're getting 87% of what they're asking. And it's something like 64% of them end up resulting in some sort of lawsuit. And only, it's like 15 or 17% of them actually sell as a FSBO. Most of them will list with a realtor within 4 to 8 weeks after trying to sell themselves.
How many
Anybody
did you
had any
say-
good luck with FSBOs?
What percentage did you say end in a lawsuit for
I think
FSBO?
it's a little over 50. It's like 60 or 65%. And these are going back like 2018, maybe 2019. You go
Wow.
to NAR's website, they have some really cool stats. And I've heard it used in the script. They'll say, you know, like they say, hey, Ray, so you said you want to sell yourself. You know, it's like, yeah. It's like, well, why do you want to do that? Well, okay, well, I just mind if I share some stats with you? You know, FSBOs nationally, did you know, Ray, that FSBOs nationally get 87% of what they're asking? And they only tend to sell 13% of the time. The other 87% of the time, they tend to list with an agent 4 to 8 weeks later, and 65% of them end up in a lawsuit. You kind of throw all those stats at them. Whether they do it now or in 8 weeks, they'll probably call you. Stats are good because people usually don't know them, and they'll tend to believe you. You know, and 80% of stats are all made up anyway. So. Any FSBOs lately? Get any FSBOs listed?
3 of my active listings are FSBOs.
No way. That's awesome. So how'd you get them?
Called.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you use RedX?
For one of them, I did use RedX. One was two of them, came from actually going on Zillow, just looking at FSBO sellers on Zillow, and then they provide their number on there to call, and I just reach out to them. And then, you
were just calling off Zillow too.
Yeah, that's how it's usually the most. I mean, that's where RedX pulls their information.
I'm listening. Yeah, let me get a drink. Keep talking.
Yeah, RedX pulls their information from the IDX. So, Zillow and the Realtor.com and all them. That's where they're getting that information. So that's where I'm just stealing it from, and just going directly to there rather than pay the extra money for the FSBO update. The only difference is on RedX, it's automatically updated every day, so you don't have to go look for it yourself.
Gotcha. And how? Yeah, because we used to do that, and it is time consuming. So, in what time period did you get those 3 listings? Over a month period, 3-month period?
So 84 North Beach Ave. It took me 2 phone calls to the gentleman before he would commit to meeting with me, and then it took 2 weeks to get the meeting. But we've been on the market for a while. We just went under contract this week. It's been on the market for like 6 months. It's been a nightmare, but it needs a new septic tank. It's the whole thing. But we got it figured out. We're under contract. 415 South 6th Ave in Galloway. It was a 6-month cultivate where I called her every 2 weeks basically for 6 months, and I finally broke her down, and she listed with me.
Nice. Did you call her because you were reminded by command?
So
or did you just do it in your head or your phone?
So I put her on a smart plan for emails, and she wasn't responding to them. So I put her in my calendar to just reach out like every in 2 weeks. And when I would call her, I would just update the reminder for 2 weeks later. So I would I use a hybrid between command and my calendar, but command can definitely do all that with the reminders in the program. I don't use it to that high of a level. Mainly because I can't always access command from my phone easily. Like if they ever update that app that they're talking about doing, command will immediately become my number one.
Is it just not work on your phone, or is it freeze up or something?
It's not super easy to work with on your phone. It's not mobile friendly really.
Yeah, I agree. I can open it, just doesn't. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. I'm old in glasses. Yeah.
And the third one I got is it was a FSBO seller out of Atlantic City. Myself and a man aficionado we co-listed a property for him, but we went to show he has a duplex in Atlantic City, and we met with him. We saw the property, and from that conversation, we realized that property wasn't something he was going to list with us because it was an estate him and his brother owned, but he had a condo in Galloway that we found out that he had, and we did that. So so we didn't get the listing that we had actually initially gone there to look at, but we sat down with him like 2 days later and did a listing presentation for his property in Galloway, and we got that listing.
Gotcha. I mean, if you real quick, do you have any kind of conversion numbers? Like, how many calls did it take you, or how many contacts did it take you to get one of those listings, or each one on average?
It's gonna, for me, I think on average, for people that have sat down with me, it's about 10 calls to get them to actually convert to do the meeting, because like a lot of people are very stubborn. So
you mean 10 calls to one person, just finally they say yes?
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
I keep so I only go in a very small area that I really work regularly. Like I was doing more, but I just to give an example, something that's not super solidified yet, but I have another FSBO seller that was one of my buyers had contacted me about very recently, and I was just asking if he would cooperate with the buyer's agent on the sale of his property. Come to find out, he has 25 properties he's looking to sell in 2021. About and it's gonna be a long process, but that was a FSBO seller that was very motivated to find someone to help him because he felt overwhelmed, but he didn't want to miss out on this market. So FSBOs are definitely money. It's just you have to be willing to tell people that they think you have to get past their objection. They think they're smarter than you and they don't want to pay a commission. You have to get past that issue, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you, man. Gotcha. So you're saying, how many contacts do you think you have to make to get one of those? I don't want to take up too much time, but so like how many contacts for FSBOs do you have to make to get one of those? Or are you just calling specific FSBOs? I mean,
I'll call every FSBO in my area, and basically in Atlantic County and in my area down here in Cape May County. I'll call everyone that comes up on the market. The only difference is it's just the ones that pop up that are, if they answer and they're not completely derogatory when I first call them, they will be put on a drip that I follow up with them every, I'll send them an email, because the first contact, if they are willing to talk to me, I will try to get their email information just so I can send them my information is what I tell them, but so I can put them on command.
Just so we can get a number. I just want to see if we're close on the national average. So if there was 30 that came up, you called how many? 10, 15, 20 contacts. I mean, how many did you contact to get that one yes?
I would say probably about 12 to 15.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm just trying to see if you're, what I mean, because you got to beat Michelle's average at 100%, 1-to-1. But seriously, I just wanted to see what it is, so people realize, real estate's simple. It's not easy, but I tell people, would you rather talk to 25 people and get 24 hell no's, don't call me back, to get one yes and make $4,000 to $7,000, or would you rather flip burgers at McDonald's or lug 50 pounds of shingles up 2 stories to the roof in 10-degree weather, to do a house? So there's always things you can do, and nothing wrong with those jobs at all. But I'd say so that's their tough part. That's their tough part. There's a tough part here. You know what I mean? You just got to get by it. So great job, man. I was going to say something else about FSBOs, but I don't want to harp on too much. Just solds. Does everybody know what just sold calls are? It's basically just what it says. It's so basically, again, to do this at a high volume, you really need a calling system, because just listed and just sold calls are a 50-to-1 conversion, meaning 50 contacts to 1 appointment or referral. Now, you could do better. You could be a much better average, but that's the national average. And it's basically, these are unmet people. These are complete cold calls. They're, hey, is this John? Yes. Hey, John, this is Shawn O'Brien from Keller Williams Realty. We just sold a house around the corner from you, 123 Main Street, and we have 5 more buyers looking for a house in your neighborhood. And I was just wondering if you know anybody, or just say who you knew that was looking to sell in your neighborhood in the near future. And they say, if they say no, they go, okay, great, thanks for thinking about it. When are you planning on making a move? And that's what those calls are. And right now, there used to be, we did them, we might not have had 5 buyers, to be honest, but we might have something. Now we literally have buyers. We literally need these. So these are not bad calls to make because we have buyers. And if you don't have one, somebody in the office probably does. And these calls, I would say you definitely got to get a Mojo or, Red X. Like Les was saying, it has the geographical mapping system and it makes it a lot easier. And it just turns through them. You got a script, you say it. No, okay, thanks for thinking about it. I appreciate it. You mind if I stay in touch with you? I always end the call with, most people will say no, but go on to the next one. Just sold calls and just listed on the reverse one. Basically, you're more looking for buyers on this call. Hey, John, we just listed a house around the corner. I'm sorry. Yeah, we just listed a house around the corner from you. I was wondering who you knew was looking to move to your neighborhood. You have an awesome neighborhood. Any of your friends, family looking to move close to you? No? Okay, great. When are you looking to make a move? Not now. Okay, might have stayed in touch with you. Awesome. Those are pretty much just listed in just sold calls, but they are a source of business. My ISA makes expired calls in the first, FISBO calls next, and the just listed, just sold calls fills in the gap. We don't have enough numbers for expireds and FISBOs because expireds are low now. Tom, I forgot. Do you have anything to add any of this? Please jump in, man. If anything you have anything to add, please. Anybody has anything to add, please jump in.
I got a quick question, Sean.
Yeah, of course.
Or Les, if you know either too. When I was toying around with Mojo, where I was at before, I noticed that when I was doing just listeds, like you said, or whatnot, it was pretty cool because when it hit the contact down below, it had an automatic street view. So you can see the actual place. Like if you're looking around and go, I don't even want to freaking bother with this,
piece of junk,
shithole
right?
or whatever, etc. But so I don't know. Does the other ones have that automatically built in at all, or no? It's just Mojo.
Let me look now.
No, West.
I'm gonna pull mine up now to check. I don't think
I
I've ever
forgot
done
Mojo
a
had
Street
that.
View.
Les can answer Red X. I have it, but I don't use it. I don't think Vulcan 7 has it, but honestly, I haven't been on Vulcan 7 in a few months. But it's good you said that because I usually, if I get them on the phone, I used to pull up Google Maps to see what the house looked like. At least I could act like I was kind of familiar with their house, even though I haven't been there. They know that, because if they automatically say to me, I say, yeah, what are you looking for if it's expired? And they say, oh, I'm looking for 400,000. And I look at it, I'm like, what the hell? You smoking crack?
Yeah.
400,000. I'll call you back. I'll give you this guy's number from Berkshire.
You can do it. You can do a satellite view, but you can't do a street view from the program that I say.
From Red X?
Yeah, it is a satellite view.
So when you pull up their property on like a expired or whatever that's their name, it automatically pulls it up, or you just got to click the button?
It's typically in a map, like a map format where it's just like a road map, but you can switch it over, toggle it over for a satellite view.
Zoom in or something. Yeah, the front picture's good. I like that.
Gotcha. Thanks, man.
Cool, no problem, man. Anytime. Any questions at all? Anybody has any questions at all before or after or during? Let me know. Feel free to call me or text me. Open houses. Obviously, open houses get a lot of buyers. However, the buyers, especially right now, I don't know what the percentage is, but they're selling it at some points here. There's a lot of selling to buy because the market's up so high. So if you want to learn more about open houses, Madalena she's like the open house queen. She does usually one a week or every other weekend at minimum. The hardest part is having something that's not sold to do an open house on. So if you have any houses that your sellers want to do open houses on and nobody wants to do it, Madalena will be happy to do it. I'm sure there's people in Kiki's program or on this call that want to do them. It is a great source of business. And if you're going to do an open house and you haven't read the 7th level open house in the Red Book, please do. Just take a picture of that page even, and do, if you don't do all 7, do 4 or 5 points on it, because right now you might get a good turnout because buyers are hard to find a property, so automatically you're going to get a better turnout than 2 years ago when you got like one person, if that. But you got to put on the internet. You got to make if you can make some circle calls around the property, knock on the neighbor's door, a day or two before, invite them over. They might know somebody. You know, put the signs out, directionals out the day before. Read the 7th level open house. It really goes in depth, and you're kind of creating like an event. And there are agents within our company that literally their whole business is designed around open houses. They pick one thing and hit it at a high level. And if you do them right, they will get you an extreme amount of business, and they will get you listings. Any open house questions or any success stories besides for I got $1 million buyer? Oh no, so that was physical. Never mind.
When I first got into business, I would have an open house every Saturday and Sunday. I'd find a house with furniture, with heat, with a TV, and watch college football on Saturday and NFL on Sunday. And I sold a lot of houses out of open houses. I only sold the house I was in once in 10 years.
Which house was that? How much was that?
That was 925.
925,000. Fantastic.
My first house I ever sold out of an open house was a gentleman that walked in, and you can always tell buyers, you know, they have the notebooks, they have flyers from other places, and I knew he was buying. And I tried my best to get him in the car to go look at houses with me. And he told me he had an appointment with another realtor that day, so he honored that, stuck to it, and left. And I called my mom as soon as he left. I said, I blew it. This guy's buying a house today, and I couldn't get him in the car.
No.
And you know, she gave me the normal motherly, oh, you can do better, you'll do better next time. It just wasn't meant to be, yada yada. At 7 o'clock that night, the phone rings, and it was that gentleman, and said he stopped at another house. It was an open house, and he's interested in putting an offer in through me, and it was a $2.4 million house.
Jeez.
So, you know,
Man.
the people with the big wallet are still going in open houses.
Yeah, it's a great point. And Tom sold a lot of big number houses. The first check, I don't know if it was the first one. The first check Tom showed me when he came to Keller Williams was his commission check was bigger than one of the sales I had under contract. I think I had asked for like $28,000 on Lakeland under contract, one of my investors. And I think he, I don't know, he showed me like a $30,000 check. I was like, you jerk. He's with me. And speaking of that, island and higher price homes, you know, a lot of people on the mainland, they, you know, I don't know if they're intimidated, don't feel like they know enough, or just assume they can't do that, or they're not going to do it. Just like Michelle with their $1 million buyer. Howard does make expired calls. He makes a lot of got database. He is a consistent machine calling, lead generating on his database and referrals, but he does call expireds. And he was telling me he started doing them about 3-4 months ago at a high level, and he called a Brigantine. Brigantine expired, and I think Aztec had it on the market for like a year. He listed it as an expired, 1.3 million, a month on the market. He had multiple offers, sold it for 1.45, I think, or something. So to show you, and Howard is not a Brigantine agent, you know. He hasn't done a lot of deals in Brigantine. He just picked up the phone, called all expires, got one. And that day, I think he said he made 4 contacts. One of them was that guy. So call him, pick up the phone. Committee meetings. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Committee meetings? I don't know what I'm talking about. The committee meetings. I mean, you know, I do, but give an example. We have an agent in our office that belongs to the Democratic committee, and I don't know if they're in office or something on the Democratic committee. They have like a title or something, and they've been doing it for like 10 years. And they get about 30% of their business from that committee in one way or another. You know, they either people that are on the committee, referred from the committee, people they've met from the committee. So if you're not on some sort of committee, and I personally, I like, you know, I used to do a lot of nonprofits. I'm on the, I used to do a lot of friggin', I kind of scaled it back. But now I'm on the, well, I'm kind of phasing out of that too. I was on the Camden Diocese Board of Realtors. So, because the Camden Diocese, you know, owns more real estate, except for God. They literally own a lot of real estate. So they have a board of people, realtors, appraisers, you know, mortgage reps that advise them what to do. And, you know, some business like that. You know, I was gonna say zoning board meetings, planning board meetings. You can't, I mean, you could you could try to get on those boards, depending on where you're at. It's a pointed position, I think. But go to those meetings. When you're at a zoning board meeting, what are people trying to do? Does everybody know what you do at a zoning board meeting? If they don't, it's not a dumb question because I didn't know about 15 years ago. They're trying to get real estate rezoned, but they're going there for real estate. There is no other reason to go to a zoning board meeting than to make a change or ask for an exception on real estate. So the zoning board meeting is 100% about real estate, and who goes there are sellers. So sometimes buyers too, and a lot of times builders, investors. Now, I mean, you can't just sit there like an ambulance chaser and they walk out and ask them for business. You have to get to know the people. If you go to zoning board meetings, you'll realize a lot of times it's the same people going, either builders getting variances, realtors or developers. So you kind of get in with that, get friends and in that group of people. And you become the expert of the area, what they're doing. Because the planning board, they're making plans most of the time for real estate. Now, a lot of times it's real estate the city owns or township owns. So, however, the township does buy in cities, townships, they have properties, they auction off. So planning board probably more for being the knowledgeable one and know what's going on as far as, the master plans in townships, things like that, what they're going to be tearing down. Zoning board, more of sellers getting variances and approvals. But all kinds of, then I kind of made a separate, or I should say Christine. Thank you, Christine. Christine wrote this pretty little thing up as I text her on the fly on my phone 4 times. So nonprofits, organizations. I mean, you want to give back, obviously, and like that's Keller's motto. But at the same time, if you're on a nonprofit, or when I started, I was the first chairman of KW Care. That's how I started. Chairman of KW Cares 14 years ago, and I didn't get on it to get business at all. However, we did so many benefits and so many charity events, and by default, I just got business from it. You do an event with 200 people or 500 people, and you're working with all these different avenues and nonprofits, and we've done a lot of big events at Williams, which is a totally different topic. Matt Haviland runs that committee now and doing a phenomenal job. However, those kind of nonprofits, committee meetings, some sort of organizations. Does anybody own a condo here? Does anybody own a condo? Rental, live in it, nothing?
I do. I own a condo.
You do?
Yeah.
Are you on the board? Are you on the association board?
Well, yeah, it's only 6 units. We're in Ventnor, so we're all on the board. But I work them all the time. Don't worry.
You do? Awesome. There you go.
I think everybody in the building knows I'm a realtor. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you should sell all 6 over the next 20 years.
I'm working on it.
You'll do it. I mean, like, you'd be amazed how many, like, the Sidey Hills, Dream Bay and Ventnor, Heathercroft and the EHT, you'll hear your buyers that they bought a house or a seller or just a friend complaining about what the association is doing. But amazingly enough, usually those boards consist of 3 people, 5 people, and it's usually, somebody that owns 5 or 50 of the units, and they make the decisions. Get on the board, 1, because you want to know what happens with your condo, and 2, if you're on the board, you're one of few people, and you have a reason to be connected with the owners. If you're connected with the owners, eventually, like Michelle said, they'll all know you sell real estate if you're doing it right. Any questions? Exactly 2 o'clock. Who's that?
That was good timing.
Right? I didn't plan it. I just jabbered for the hour. No, I mean, if you guys have any questions, let me know. There is more places to get listings from. These are just some of the top ones. End of the day, it comes down to you making connections with people by phone, in person, by email, Facebook, social media, Smoke Flare, Monkey Express, whatever it is, just contact people and stay in touch with them. Like Les is doing a great job with consistently, Les, Howard, Matt Haviland, Rich Perrin. I mean, there's more people, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are starting the databases as well. But if you have a consistent way of staying in touch with people, using the drip campaigns, automatic call or automatic texts, reminder calls, whether it's in command, your phone, whatever, a shoebox of cards. Find a consistent way to stay in touch with people. Pick 3 or 4 of these areas and focus on them at a high level. And then let me know how many houses listed.